3 points for the Dozos, 0 points for their opposition. Very similar situation as we approach our fourth match of the day. My name's still FDOT, but I'm joined here by Hindu Man. And again, we've got a situation where should a team, the Randozos, find 2 wins, it's all said and done.
All said and done, because both those teams will be at 6 points. Envy and Randozos here. Risky behavior, though. They still have a shot, as you can see. They've only played 1 game here. If they do find a win against Randozos here with a 2-0, they will catch Randozos up with 1 game each left to play. However, even in the grand scheme of things, if Risky do win here, Most Wanted can still make it as well in a very weird chain of events.
Risky behavior has an interesting lineup. You've got a mix of players that are relatively newer to the scene, and then veterans like Giliara.
Yeah.
Giliara?
Giliara.
Gilgaria?
Gil.
Gir? Il?
Ara.
Gil?
Yeah, you're right.
That's what I thought. Giliara has been a fantastic support for a very long time, and he'll be joining the squad onto Risky Behavior. Randozos, completely unrecognizable lineup from their time in the SPL, but an improvement very much so. Both from me, I still don't think that they're one of the top teams, but I think their new roster has generally improved. And even if you talk to some of the pros in the North American scene, Drelo, Dr. Elo was talking very highly about this new roster.
Well, I mean, moswal, obviously, I saw him in the first set today. He looked fantastic in the mid lane. Played the Raijin and the Vulcan very, very well. In the jungle, Mirage as well. I didn't recognize who he was until you mentioned. It's the Dirty Bubble, guys.
That's the Dirty Bubble. The guy
That's the Dirty Bubble. The guy that made the build.
Yep.
Made the build. Wolfie, if you're watching, Dirty Bubble did it first.
I did it first, but that's a whole different...
I mean, but that was in silver, though. That's don't count,
That's a whole... Hey.
Don't count.
It was bronze, thank you very much.
Okay, at least
that
I
was
got
a
it
whole
right.
different story, certainly.
But, hang on. If you're called Dirty Bubble, right, and everybody knows you for the Dirty Bubble build, and you change your name, what are you thinking? You could have come into this game and everyone's like, hey, it's Dirty Bubble. I know that kid. That's what you do with name changes, guys. You mess yourself over.
This is not my soapbox. I will not be allowed to launch into a tirade about why you should not change your name, but it's time to change your game as Randozos want to go from where they're at to where they want to be. 2 wins ensure that they are in the SPL, so as we get into picks and bans for Randozos versus Risky Behavior, it's all up to Risky to make sure that clowns don't get the choices they want.
Ban Susano. That's the first thing I'm going to say to Risky Behavior straight away, because the way Mirage played that last set was absolutely flawless. I loved the play that it came out with him, and it wasn't just the fact that he understands this god very well and how to utilize it, it's also that he was clearly communicating when he was using his ultimate to allow his team to follow up with fantastic damage.
You're going to go with what to ban, I'm going to go with what not to ban. Don't focus on Whalrus. They banned 3 or 4 Whalrus gods in the first set.
They did.
And he played Sun Wukong and carried this team to victory.
I mean, when you look at solo lane, you can pick pretty much any warrior, any guardian. For the most part, over in the solo lane right now.
Whalrus is
so the god pull is very... You just want to take things out that are going to cause issues. Risky Behavior, though, at least they did what I expected somebody to do and take away Mirage's Susano. But he has got Thanatos.
That's true.
I wonder if the Dirty Bubble build still works, man.
On Thanatos, it still is the objectively... Like, Thanatos scales at 60%, but at the end of the day, because... it's better to build tanking.
Oh, okay, it's like you understand Thanatos or something. You sound like you understand him more than Chak. Or at least Najar with those sashes in the jaw. Ooh!
The first pick, Ratatoskr. What do you think about that?
We're going to have some nuts in this game.
That's kind of nuts.
You get it?
I was gonna go there first, but Randozos have to respond here, and Raijin will be the selection. We'll see moswal on that character. Definitely a very potent pick. The second one, again, it will be Ho-Yi. So GhostCreepr played this one fantastically earlier on today. I expect to see the same.
This is exactly the same sort of draft Randozos did in their very first set. They picked up the damage dealers first of all. They went Raijin, Ho-Yi, Susano was what they were looking for overall. GhostCreepr on Ho-Yi. It's almost a shot of maybe taking that away from him at some point. Maybe to see how he does in this first game, and then maybe look to either ban it out or pick it a little bit earlier to make sure the enemy team don't get that as well.
DingodiIe will be on the Geb, and then the Freya selection with Ratatoskr most likely in the jungle. Freya will be played in the Hunter role, I would say, for Kaeydan.
Geb's a big shock for me. I'm really surprised to see Geb coming back, and Geb being drafted
this
early
yeah.
is insane, honestly, with the amount of support gods that are available. Like Bacchus is one example. There's a lot of things available that could come in handy a little bit more than a Geb.
Sure. I think I agree with you that I think it's a little bit early, but again, the Guan Yu pick, this Guan Yu selection, not even specifically on Wubbn, Wubbn has a great Guan Yu. But
if
Guan Yu in general has a great Guan Yu.
And if it is Guan Yu versus Geb as well, Guan has a fantastic time in lane against a Geb. Geb can't knock him up out of Tallow Assault, so he's just going to sit there and continue whittling away those minions quickly. And obviously shred those protections of Geb makes him a nice, easier target for Hou-Yi to part some free damage.
Neathban, very simple, very basic smite. I want you guys to bring this into your ranked games. When Freya's selected, usually it's going to be for the Hunter role. Off-label, she now plays jungle. Hunter is her main position. If you're going to put a magical damage dealer into the Hunter role, that means you're either going to have to find your warrior support or a mid-lane physical, most likely. With Geb already selected, your support's clearly going to be magical as well. So who do you put in the mid lane? Neath is the easiest selection. Ban that out immediately, and now Risky Behavior has to get a little creative.
It's probably likely thinking of things like Ool is what's coming to my mind right now as a potential target for the mid lane. Not seen it too much just lately, yo, so we'll find out if they do go that route.
On her.
Still need a solo laner as well, and there it's going to be Ravana, and it's going to be as the Vamana, which was already locked in by the Dozos and given over to Whalrus.
Will it be the Kaeydan of Panthera fame?
I was trying to work out what the other one was, because like it's all that we've seen mid Neath, and I couldn't work it out. It was Kaeydan. You are correct.
Kaeydan is a Yaman choice. Ool is a heroine choice. I mean, Apollo's a heroine choice, but we won't go there. I love you, Tyler.
I mean, they may not even go that route. They may go for another magical as well, and they could choose to do that if they want to. Sobek.
I mean, so now you have a mid lane Ravana? All right, so you've got a solo Sobek.
I'm saying all because I'm not exactly sure where this one's going to go, because Rat can jungle, Freya can mid lane. Is it Rat and Geb in duo lane possibly? Sobek, solo, Ravana, jungle, Freya mid? Like, that's weird as balls, man.
Risky Behavior certainly amping up the risk factor here, getting very creative in the picks and ban phase. So instead of focusing on what Risky have at their disposal, let's look at what Randozos have to counteract.
No, let's go back to Risky and what they don't have at their disposal, which is any form of AD carry here other than Rat. Like, that's a big issue for them going into this one already.
Trouble.
Exactly, they're going to have to go in close for that. Freya's not going to do much. Let's see where they're going. First of all, it's going to be, okay.
Gilly's playing the mid Geb. Gilly will be playing mid-Geb somewhere. P-Bat is shouting from the rooftops. Okay. I told you so.
Now, Geb can be underestimated in terms of how much damage he can put out. I'm
going to go Fatalis Telkind ring?
If he goes full magical damage, right, he's not going to be super tanky, but don't forget, his knock-up is going to be very strong, so is his rollout. I believe his rollout is still 100% scaling, or so close to. And then his shield does get, I believe it gets bonus magical, bonus strength.
Yes.
Based off the amount.
I want to point this.
It's not anymore.
I want to point this one out.
Feels bad.
This is an important match.
Yeah.
Yesterday, and we will continue on today, we will watch matches that have no bearing on the gameplay. What I mean by that is, right now in relegation, teams are fighting to get into the SPL.
Correct.
Right? And later on today, as we saw yesterday, there will be games played that don't have any bearing on that situation. This is not one of them. Risky Behavior are going their namesake, and they're going to play Geb mid in a game that can get them into the SPL.
Well, let's see how this one works out, because at the moment they're just going to clear out the waves, Gilly, and that's pretty much what he's going to do here, is auto-attack minions and get attacked. He does not have the strongest lane clear on Geb whatsoever.
Well, not just yet.
Surprising thing is that Risky Behavior's jungler here, IFates, stayed and went to solo lane first of all and pushed out solo lane. I would have expected him to rotate very quickly to mid lane to support Geb, who's going to sit there and lose quite a few creeps, I suspect, or a lot of health.
Also, the right side Harpies, Randozos clearly have the push, so they're able to clean up the Harps on the right-hand side. Now, one of the things I like when players get creative. IFates, on the other hand, has to find a way out, does so indeed, and with that push, Randozos will also get the left-hand Harpies. I like when players get creative. So let's celebrate this Geb middle for a moment, and let's see what it actually brings to the table.
Sure. What it does, it brings a shield, a knock-up, a little bit of damage, and a cataclysm in an AoE. Big difference is they're against Mirage in the jungle, who's playing Fenrir this game. Now, Fenrir against Geb, well, you're going to have a bad time, because you're going to be burning your Purification over and over again, or your Cataclysm defensively to avoid the Ragnarok at sometimes as well. So just keep an eye on this. It's all early game control for Randozos with this composition. The solo lane of Mangoh on that Ravana can do pretty good, but at the moment Whalrus is still bullying that lane out early as well.
And this is the problem that we see with when you pick a item dependent god in the mid lane. Usually we see like let's call it a Nemesis combined with a What's a late game mage?
I just want to say, when we watched that little skirmish there, watch what happened. Fates goes in, deals poke, and Gilly's like, I'm going to just sit here, I guess, and throw you a shield if you need it, because that's all I can do.
Well, so Nemesis, who's a late game mage that if you pick Nemesis with, you're just sort of boned?
Freya?
Sure.
Kronos?
Sure, let's go Freya. You get Freya, because Freya's a good comparison to get with wave clear, right? You get a Freya. You get a poor clearing character in the jungle as well, and you basically relinquish the early game.
Mm-hmm.
You get pushed on your tower like we're seeing. You get your back harpies invaded like we're seeing, and you'll inevitably get your red buff stolen as well once that comes up in about a moment, in about a minute, right?
Yeah.
So that's where you're at. But the benefit is, as the game gets later and later, all of a sudden you have this Titan, this hyper carry. Geb's not that character.
No.
So Geb, on the other hand, what is Geb actually looking to do? Geb is looking to be a facilitator.
He's going to be a facilitator. He's still going to be the backline peel, but the difference is the backline peel this time round that he's going to engage with is actually going to do a lot more damage, and maybe, just maybe if they're looking to play this right, make them susceptible. But he just rolled out into danger, and now he's going to have to use his purification early and his cataclysm and still go down to Ragnarok.
First blood goes the way of Mirage off of the assist from the mid laner, and Wubbn gets a kill as well as they tower dive Kaeydan.
Poor DingodiIe.
Yep. Kaeydan did have a good afternoon so far. He's had some rough games earlier on. Jigs, actually, was on Twitter saying Kaeydan must not want his team to be in the SPL. That's how poorly Kaeydan was playing earlier.
Everybody can have bad games, and I completely understand that. You know, you can have bad times as well, but you've got to try and step yourself up for every new game. At the moment, looking at this team from Risky Behavior, it's very oddball. Like, it's completely oddball in these picks.
So sometimes we see oddball stuff to support hypercarry, like this Freya. Right? If Kaeydan had a terrible game earlier on, is he the one that you want to put all your eggs in the basket of?
Well, you've also got IFates on that Ratatoskr as well, right? He can technically go off, and he's going to get enough peel from a Sobek and a Geb and a Ravana to really facilitate that for the most part.
And that's where I was going with my conversation earlier. Entertaining the idea of this Geb mid, you're losing the mage damage, but you're gaining super protection.
Super protection, indeed. I mean, it's going to give you some sort of... When you say super protection, it's still the same thing that Geb's going to bring. The only difference is Geb's not going to be as survivable because he's going to build damage this time instead of going for the defensive
Is he going to build damage?
He should be building damage. They need some more damage.
How much damage can you get out of the Geb?
So here's the problem. If they don't go with Geb, if they don't build damage on Geb, you've only got Ravana, Ratatoskr, and a Freya for damage.
Yes.
Like, completely.
Yes.
Look at the other lineup. You've got Fenrir for damage. You've got Raijin for damage. You've got hi-rez for damage. I've already listed 3 gods more.
I am not arguing the fact that there's more damage on the Randozos. But what I'm saying
has
is
to go damage.
The upside of Giliara building magical damage, right? How much extra damage? What's the scaling on the game? Can we look at...
I believe... I want to say 60. I'm probably wrong now. 50.
All right,
okay.
It's 50% scaling. There's 50% scaling on the ones that matter, and then the ultimate doesn't really have any scaling.
Percentage of health, right?
So it's 50% scaling if you build damage or be a tank.
But he can't be crit. Remember that. He can't be. So GhostCreepr, he can 1v1 GhostCreepr now, right? He can go full mage and fight GhostCreepr, and then when he pops, you know, the Mark of the Crow, he throws on the shield and absorbs that damage, and then returns it all with massive magical 50% scaling.
If I'm GhostCreepr, I'm not building crit this game.
I mean, if you're hi-rez, generally you don't need to build that much crit anyway. You can just rely on that Mark of the Crow. Talking about that, check out the duo lane.
Right now, Basic's going back and forth. Not too big of a deal.
I thought GhostCreepr was going all in there because he walked right up to him with the Mark of the Crow on as well.
Can we address the fact that DingodiIe's playing the crocodile? The god of the Nile.
Never smile at a DingodiIe.
I saw you say that before.
I did, because it's true.
Can you translate that into American for me?
Never smile at a crocodile, never smile at a DingodiIe.
Wait, is that a...
You've never heard Never Smile at a Crocodile?
Is that a Crocodile Dundee
Have
reference?
you never seen Peter Pan?
I mean, many, many moons ago.
Well, there you go. That's what it's from. Peter Pan. That was the big thing.
All right. Well, that's something new for sure. 2 kills to none at the moment. So we'll take a look at how these guys find out they're invading.
Well,
and there it is.
There's the chunk coming out straight away. Raijin's just going to pop the ultimate, and already Fates is dead. Couldn't get to the sky. Double kill for moswal again. He got the Raijin, and Raijin had a great performance on it in set 1, and already Randozos starting to run away with it. I think that, like, I don't know what that pick was. I still can't get it.
So
I just don't get it.
So we've done them the service. We've postulated and hypothesized and thought about all the different areas. Here's another one. What's the likelihood that they just forgot they picked Geb early on and they picked a Sobek and then went, oh no, we have 2 supports.
I mean, I've seen mispicks in the past. I've seen mispicks in LAN games. I believe it was Paradigm once upon a time that picked AMC by mistake.
Yes.
Or maybe they were under the name Fnatic. It was Funballer.
It was Funball.
Picked
He picked AMC instead of...
It doesn't even matter. He picks AMC.
So Sobek, who comes before and after Sobek in the alphabet?
You really put me on the spot now. Susano, but he was banned.
Are there any mages, I'm thinking?
I don't know. You really get me now because I'm like, oh, here we go.
RQRST.
There's Ra.
Ra could have been a Ra pick.
They could have gone for Ra.
Could have been a Ra pick. T. Soul.
Oh, it could have been Soul.
Sobek and Soul. Sobek and Soul.
He typed
This is
SO.
supposed to be a Soul. That's supposed to be a Soul selection.
No.
Is there a Hunter with an S? That's a Soul selection, sir.
Are you sure?
I am not sure, but I am.
But we're talking about they were still magical with Geb anyway, right? So I guess we were mentioning physical during picks and bans for the mid laner, probably because we got the Freya in the game. Instead, they accidentally misclick. I mean, we're hypothesizing this whole way through why they did it. Maybe.
Scotty mid is something that we've seen played a bunch.
I mean, Scotty's kind of slipped out a little bit more though lately, so not so sure.
I don't know. Either way,
we've had 8 minutes discussing this, but anyway, Geb's in the game, and Geb's not doing very well right now.
I'll be frank. I am the first person that loves creative mid laners. I mean, in joking fashion, I like watching Chalk mid in my casual games. I think that I've been arguing for Hunter's mid lane for a long time. Finally, they have become relatively accepted. I love to play around with the mid lane. I think the mid lane has a lot more wiggle room than players give it. But I just don't see the benefit of this gap.
I tell you what I do see the benefit of. Randozos right now are happy days for both of them, and all of them, really. Mirage is just going to zone them away from doing this as they do the Golf Fury, but Randozos in this set, think about it. You're trying to get back into the SPL one more time. Please don't lose that Golf Fury.
The Dozos steal it away!
No, they didn't, because they were the ones doing it. Don't get them too excited. There was no steal there involved. And see the damage from Raijin, who's level 12 at 9 minutes in.
Giliara does what he can, and that mid lane Geb now sitting a third from the bottom in player damage.
So yeah, if you run Dozos now, you're trying to get back in the SPL and you find out the enemy team's picked this comp, you're like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
And the start of the game goes exactly as you were hoping it was going to go against this composition, and it's going exactly what they wanted.
I mean, this is rough. This is... I have to assume that the Geb selection was just not planned, because like I said, I'm down for creativity, specifically in the mid lane. I think there are a lot of commentators that I could share this cast with virtually any other god in this mid lane, and I would make a legitimate stance and they would make fun of the pick. This time around, I can't find the legitimate stance for the Geb. I just don't see it. I just don't see it, Hindu man.
I'm trying to think of all the other Guardians that you could possibly put in the mid lane.
Ymir mid? I'm down.
Yep. Sylvanas mid, I can see it. Geb's just such an oddball. Anyway, let's get into the game, because at the moment
this is the game.
I mean, there's
the
still
game
chances.
Is Geb mid. That's the whole game. It's the name of the game. It's the NA relegation Geb mid. That's the game.
It is, and it's the NA relegation Geb mid who's going to have to sit and watch his red buff get stripped away here, unless it's secured at the last second, which it wasn't. Moswal going
nice
in
dash.
with the support of Mirage.
I like the dash coming out from DingodiIe.
These two in the mid lane, Moswal and Mirage together, are really dangerous. I said that in set 1 I saw him in, and they're still the same in the second set I'm watching them now. They're in a good position. Fight's going in on his own here.
Yeah, Ratatoskr going to dive into 3. See you later.
I got nothing on that one. Here's a cavalry charge. Geb's going to bravely run away, but guess what? Geb can't really run as he's stunned out consistently. He's out of mana. He's going to go down 2.
7-1. Read the kills. Randozos have gotten 7 kills. Risky Behavior got lucky once. And we're about 11 minutes into this one. And Randozos are... leading? No. Dominating? No. They are just taking this one and running with it. 7K in the lead as we see Tier 1 towers in mid and right completely obliterated.
I'm glad Randozos aren't messing around, though. They're just pointing to him. Take the Golf Fury, take the towers down quick as possible, move on to the next game. This game's important for them, too. Like, they need at least a point.
This game's important to both teams.
No, it is. But for Randozos to not fall for this sort of thing of what's going on in this game, make sure you get your points. Make sure you get yourself into where the money is in the Pro League.
You know, that's a good point. I think Randozos, and I think that speaks to some of these players, as Whalrus gets another kill just by being Whalrus, is that a lot of teams could be dragged down and play at this level, right? Okay, you want to go get mid? LOL, we're going to try lane or something, right? They're going to do something silly. Randozos sticking to it, and Whalrus gets a little aggressive there, but he dies 3-1 after taking a tier 1 tower in 10 minutes and killing his opponent. I'm okay with that.
I'm just looking through the builds now. Just see, I'm interested in what the Hunter's doing actually. Because GhostCreepr is pretty much on the same build over and over. We've seen so many different builds coming out of Hunters so far today in terms of whether it's going to be Devourer's Gauntlet, Soul Eater. Generally, we've saw Rama's going for the attack speed builds with the Ick Valves.
I think we're
as Yassi's.
I think we're at the point in Hunter builds where it really depends on the individual. Exactly. The individual god that you're playing is a very big important part to what build you're going to go. Dash away on the left-hand side, or Randozos should be fine.
A good counter initiation there coming out as well from moswal, because he basically just thunder crashed in to cause some issues and get his team away. But Wubbn's caught out, going to get plucked into danger here. Mangoh going to curse him as well, but the drums have been sounded now by moswal, who's trying to help out his team. He's not going to be able to save his teammate, but he will get a kill in response onto DingodiIe. Now, back to the safety is Mirage, and he's just going to recall back to base and heal himself up.
So Randozos up 6 kills, 9 kills in red, 3 kills in blue. And a speed buff finally going the way to Risky Behavior. This is... So if the Geb selection was a mistake, I'd expect a 10-minute surrender. So it's not.
Potentially. I mean, we're at 7,000 gold right about now. In ahead for the Randozos. They've taken 2 tier 1 towers. The left-hand side's been worked on quite nicely by GhostCreepr as well. He's actually trying to control the jungle on that left-hand side up against Kaeydan, who's on that Freya here.
Look at Whalrus.
And Whalrus, just happy to 2v1 now.
I mean, Whalrus is... In my personal opinion, Hitman, and I don't mean to throw shade at the other players, it's just that Whalrus is so damn big. He has been one of the most improved players from Season 2 to Season 3. And not just in his gameplay, in his professionalism on and off the field, the way he speaks about the game, the way he looks at the game is very, very different. This is Whalrus and the Randozo squad. And seeing him just continue to push in the situation is very impressive to me. I just kind of wish we got to see a real game.
I mean, it's a bit unfortunate here, but there's a crash in. They're still trying to gank onto Whalrus on this right-hand side of Risky Behavior, and they will finally pick him up, but he took a 3-man rotation, and they traded out their Hunter for that one across the other side of the map too. They could look for the Gold Fury here as well, Randozos, or the Tier 1 tower. Options are available for either one here, and that's why you can see Ravana going over there.
It's going to be both Wubbn and mid lane Raijin go ahead and start looking at the objective in the jungle, and you're going to see GhostCreepr just take out the tower.
And look at the difference in the levels there. Mangoh level 13, GhostCreepr level 16. The levels of Randozos are just going out of the water right now. For 14 minutes in, this game's completely out of hand and in their favor. There's not a whole lot of risky behavior you can do for now. Like, if anything, if this is a serious pick and this is what they've been trying to do today, they're going to have to sit on their Phoenixes and hope for the late game. And even then, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get there.
So think about Aphrodite middle lane for a moment. We saw Envy do that earlier. I think that's the idea. Right? The idea is we put a support in the mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but when you look at Aphrodite, she scales a little bit better in terms of damage output as well. Overall, things have changed with Geb since the days when I used to think about him in Magical, because he used to get scaling on his shield and things as well. So I'm like, okay, I can see a play for that. But FaZe is still trying to make things happen for him. He's just a bit too aggressive.
How do you reckon the Sobek mid goes? I think the Sobek mid is probably a little bit more successful. GhostCreepr getting dove. He's going to be number 5 here for Risky Behavior as IFates picks up another kill. Good job for the jungler, trying to make the best of a bad situation. Kaeydan, on the other hand, well, it's not his fault, but he's getting wrecked.
I mean, he met moswal here. Moswal's just having a great game over and over again. He's done this consistently throughout today, and I'm excited to see him in the SPL, because that's the way this is going right now. If Randozos 2-0 this, they go to the SPL. Risky Behavior won't make it.
So maybe it's a mistrade. Sobek mid is definitely better than Geb mid.
Possibly. I mean, the difference between Sobek mid and Geb mid, and this is the big one, is the escape. We've got the charge prey on a Sobek to reposition if he gets caught. Geb's going to roll out, and Geb rollout takes a long time to charge up and causes him a lot of issues to be able to do that. At the same time, lurking in the waters gives you a lot more immunity to escape ganks after level 5, whereas Geb's Cataclysm, different story.
Whalrus just over here in big baby form, ulting the tower, just trying to do what he can to take it down. Randozos leading by almost 10,000 gold here, just a quarter of an hour in.
I mean, they've done the Gold Fury already. They've got all the towers downstripped to tier 2s, and this is where it becomes a bit of a problem for Randozos to try and close the game quickly, because obviously it's easier for them to respawn at the 16-minute mark for the side of Risky Behavior, and defending a tier 2 tower is a lot easier, and you've got to commit very deep from the side of Randozos very early on.
Randozos toying with the mid lane, just toying with it.
And they've got the opportunity to do that now, right?
Yep.
We just go to the graphs and just see the difference in builds at one time. 14,000 experience. 16.5-minute game, and we're almost 1,000 experience a minute right now, which is absolutely ludicrous in terms of how far ahead Randozos are right now. FaZe is still going in and trying to 1v1, which is going to be his detriment.
Yeah, we've seen FaZe make a couple of poor decisions, but we've also seen FaZe make a couple of good decisions as well. Kaeydan gets a kill onto the Freya. FaZe is trying to salvage a game here.
I kind of like what Randozos are doing, though, because they're actually splitting up on purpose here to try and focus. It looks like Risky Behavior just want to fight, right? And if Risky Behavior are going to fight, well, let's move them around the map to where we want them to be. Let's get slightly out of position here and allow our teammates to pick up towers and close this one out.
All right, chat. Let's read the levels together. Okay, starting from the solo lane down: 15 to 17, 14 to 17, 13 to 18, 12 to 14, 15 to 17. Randozos can split up because Risky Behavior need to fight 5-on-3. If they fight 5-on-5, they lose. If they fight 1-on-1, they lose. So Randozos, they can split up 3-2, 2-3, 4-1. Who cares? Risky Behavior aren't going to be engaging intelligently on any group of Randozos.
No, because they really can't. And they could even lose a life doing that anyway
Exactly.
in any of those given scenarios that you just mentioned there.
So back to the piggy banks. Kaeydan just picking them up. I mean, realistically here, Randozos, they're clearly going, and I don't call this.
You don't call it yet. I mean, you can't call it yet.
I'm going to. They're clearly going to win this game.
I mean, clearly going to. I feel they're definitely going to win this one. Definitely. I won't even say clearly.
But how about game number 2?
Well, game 2 is a different story. It depends on what happened with Risky. I mean, what happened game 1 with Risky Behavior?
Yes.
Is it all the things we were talking about? Was it a strategy to put Geb mid that failed miserably? And immediately because they fell so far behind, they just lost the plot? Or was it another circumstance of a mistrade or a misclick of a god? You just don't know until, you know, game 2 kicks in. If we see the same sort of thing at the start, or the same sort of picks, well, you're going to see the same sort of result as you see here.
Randozos just teaming up. Watch out, DingodiIe. It's the Rand gang. Can't find the ult. Finally does. Mirage gets credit for that one.
You can smile at that crocodile, that's for sure.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'd be smiling if I was Randozos right now. You're just 1 point away, basically, after this game of making it into the Pro League guaranteed again. And honestly, on paper, Randozos were not expected to do as well as they have done, but they look fantastic.
No, as I said, I was not polite to them this morning on first period, and Drelo certainly had a bunch to say.
Well, there's the combo. We just saw it. Fates into a Cataclysm at the same time from Giliara, but they only found 1 kill because of the massive lead that Randozos got. And now they could group up in the jungle and potentially turn it again.
And that's what I'm talking about. The number is just a little bit too high on the side of the Dozos. And like I said, I wasn't very polite to them this morning on my show, but Drelo certainly had a lot to say. He said, hey, look, the roster is much different. It's a stronger team. And I will agree with that. However, relatively stronger. The team that Randozos represented last year was rough, and I think this team is a little bit better than rough. To be fair, this game, not exactly exemplary of how strong this team is.
Definitely things that Randozos need to look at doing going forward, because I said I think Randozos look better than they did last season, but in comparison to the SPL teams, well, we'll probably find out in that last set, potentially against Envy today as well, as a little guiding light of how these guys may look so far.
I want to say, by the way, the reason I bring up that I wasn't very nice to these guys earlier on is because they have shown me, specifically in set number 1, that they are improved. This is a better team than I anticipated seeing. Absolutely. And I will definitely bring that up. However, Risky Behavior, I did not expect much from them, but this is much lower than I expected. The Geb mid, I just don't see it. I can't see it. I am usually down to wrap my head around strange and creative processes. I usually get yelled at in the caster room for it.
Oh, you do it all the time. I'm used to it as well.
But the Geb mid, if there's Freya, so I see the Freya, and a lot of times you see the Afro Geb Kali or Afro Geb Freya, right? And the idea is just, well, we protect this one guy.
Oh, the body block.
I just don't see it here.
I think the big thing here from Risky Behavior is if game 2 goes the same way as this game's gone so far, what I'm expecting overall here is the fact that they gave up hope after losing to Envy. That's what it feels like to me right now. Maybe they just heads dropped and like, listen, if we can't beat Envy, we can't beat any of these other teams. Maybe that was the case. They didn't feel like they had a real shot. They've played against Most Wanted before a couple of times. They maybe saw what Randozos did against Most Wanted as well and was like, well, I don't know if we can compete, so maybe we'll try and make
I'll tell you right now,
check.
Graham, I'm not mad. I think this is just maybe a creative strategy that went wrong, maybe a misclick, this, that, or third. If that's the case, and I don't think it is, I'd be very mad. I would be upset. But I don't think that's the case for Risky. I think they're just trying something that's not working out.
I hope that's the case, and here's the aggression one more time. Going to see Sobek fall down as well. Firegiant still stands, however, as Risky Behavior did try and contest it, and that's what Randozos needed to do. They just needed to go towards the Firegiant, bait them in, and pick them apart just like this.
Giliara going to be aggressed on as well, shields himself, and yeah, looking at the build, Hindu, you were right. Giliara was planning on going damage base. You can see the helmet.
Yeah, I mean, whether it was a bad mistake or not in terms of where it was picked, it's still, you got to go magical there. You got to go some extra damage for the team. If you're going to play it in mid lane, if it was Sobek in mid, you'd expect him to go some damage too.
For sure.
Wubbn's a little bit caught out there, but it was just a nice little bait once again for moswal to come in with a Thunder Crash. It's all I've been saying today is moswal on that Raijin has just been so good. And GhostCreepr, we need to look at seeing him banned out, the hi-rez banned out against him, but it's going to be 22 minutes left up, and we're down 20-7. Randozos win the first game. If they win the second, they're guaranteed through. If they split here, they're still in with a very good looking shot.
22 minutes. 22 minutes.
Yep.
Of get mid.
22 minutes of get mid. It was, I believe it was 3 minutes of get mid before he died.
Yeah,
and then it was 4 minutes of get mid before he died twice.
Realistically, really rough stuff. Just not coming up strong for the guys on Risky Behavior. They make a risky, questionable pick, and I commend the creativity, but it just was not good.
Let's rename to Risky Creativity right now.
Sure.
Let's go with that.
Sure.
See if it's Risky Creativity for game 2 then.
Yeah. No,
That's
like I
the
said, I'm not. You've seen me angry on this stage before.
I mean, I'm
not angry.
I'm upset too, but like, it's like, I'm normally upset as well. I could be upset here, but it's like, well, I don't know the whole story yet, so let's just not jump to conclusions. If they'd all bought Sunder or Sprint and invaded the jungle, then maybe, just maybe, yeah.
Game 2.